you have this fantasy land that Trump was like, oh, the left thinks Abrego Garcia, I've treated him wrong. I surrender, left.
The only time he has been...
Should we watch this? Somebody said, have you ever heard of Supply Side Jesus? I love Supply Side Jesus. Bring me this king of the Jews that I might meet him, this supply side Jesus. So you are the supply side Jesus. What a magnificent robe you have. Because of this robe, 10 craftsmen were able to feed their families. The goldsmith who made the trim and the filigree was able to hire an apprentice because I paid him so handsomely. And what a beautiful haircut you have, supply side Jesus. The barber who gave me this haircut was able to hire a manicurist. She had been a prostitute, but because I needed a pedicure, she is now able to fulfill her true potential. Yes, the cuticles are absolutely perfect. There are those in Jerusalem who are not happy with your radical new teachings, supply side Jesus. Watch yourself. Shouldn't you feed the lepers, supply side Jesus? No, Thomas, that would make them lazy. Then shouldn't you at least heal them, supply side Jesus? No, James. Leprosy is a matter of personal responsibility. If people knew I was healing lepers, there would be no incentive to avoid leprosy. Supply side Jesus, I think I've got a great line for your Sermon on the Mount. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. For shame, Peter, that's class warfare. But that does give me an idea. It is easier for a rich man to enter heaven seated comfortably on the back of a camel than it is for a poor man to pass through the eye of a needle. We love supply side Jesus.
been constrained is through the left and liberals banding together and going through the court system and public pressure. That's it. That's all we've seen.
Why? I feel like Crystal Ball fucking, what do you call it? It oscillates back and forth between unhinged, crazy lefty points versus like pragmatic, coherent, consistent argument, or not consistent, like pragmatic and coherent arguments. I feel like she does this probably more violently than anybody I've ever watched before. Her debating, was it Cenk before on, or was it Ryan Grimm, or was it Brianna Joy? I think it might have been Brianna, over whether or not you should vote for Kamala or whether or not the Democrats would be better than Trump. It was, oh, Jesus.
Is MAGA a fascist movement? Just give me a yes or no.
That's an absurd framing, Kyle. That's mainstream media framing.
You can't say that MAGA is fascist. You can't, wait. You really don't believe MAGA is fascist?
I am against Trump, totally, okay? But why do you love Trump will be the next question. Okay.
Did I ask that? Me.
We explain, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, Cenk reached out to Kyle and I this week and said, hey, I think we got some things to talk through. Can I, let's have a conversation. So we said, sure, let's do that. And this kind of follows on the heels of a discussion/debate that you and I had back in December, where, the launching point, and you can, correct me if you don't think that this is a fair characterization of this conversation, but the launching point was a tweet that you had put out expressing some optimism about the Trump administration. So we can put that tweet up on the screen from Cenk to refresh everybody's memory about where we started. So you said, in November 29, 2024, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election. Even though I was so against the guy who won, I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. So over the course of that conversation, you explained to me that the reason you felt optimistic was really two reasons. Number one, as you say,
okay, it might have been her talking to Cenk before.
The establishment was defeated. And number two, you felt that the elements of the populist right and the bros would hold Trump accountable. And it kind of built to this crescendo where I actually turned to the camera and said, listen, guys, in a little while, you're going to be able to say whether I was right or whether Crystal was right. Let's go ahead and play that portion as a refresher. That is element number two.
I want to address something with the audience. Can I use this my camera here? Okay, yeah. So right-wing populists, it is now your job to prove Crystal wrong. Okay.
Go out and do it, y'all.
So she doesn't believe you. And by the way, almost no one on the left, other than me and Anna, believe you guys that you actually want to cut the Pentagon. And that you could pressure Elon Musk and Donald Trump to cut the Pentagon. So are you going to prove the left wrong, or are you going to prove them spectacularly right? Am I going to have to come on here and apologize to Crystal for ever believing in any right-wing populist?
Oh, and what was it? $150 billion increase for the DOD? That's like in the big, beautiful bill, right?
And say, oh, I was a sucker. Those guys are liars. All they want to do was increase the Pentagon, have more wars, more corruption, and they never held Trump accountable. We waited 4 long years for them to hold him accountable, and all they did was kiss his ass and show that they don't really believe in freedom. They said all this stuff about freedom, but they never meant it. They said all this stuff about drain the swamp, but they never meant it. They said all this anti-war stuff, but they never meant it. We're going to come back on here in 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, and we're going to keep doing.
Well, it hasn't been a year yet. That's what he's going to say. That's what he has to retreat to. It hasn't been a year yet.
I'm going to check.
So, Cenk, that was kind of the context of that discussion. And just for the audience and for you, since there's two of us and one of you, and we don't want to be like jumping on all over each other, and maybe Kyle and I have disagreements on things, I thought I would kind of handle the first 30 minutes more or less. Kyle would handle the second 30 minutes. You've got an engagement you've got to go to, hard out in an hour, so that's the amount of time
We
that we
could do
have.
this for 4 hours if we had the time.
I'm sure we could, and it would be painful for all involved. But in any case, we've got a hard out for Cenk in 1 hour. We want to be very respectful of his time. So, with everything that's happened in Trump 2.0, do you still feel that original optimism that you expressed at the time, do you still feel that was well-founded?
Yeah. Elon's gone. We haven't bombed Iran yet. Doge had $8 billion, I think, of cuts by the end of it all, maybe?
Absolutely. And
No shot. I need is there like an Olympics soundtrack? Is there like a standard? Oh, no, wait. What's that one song that they always play when like something stupid is happening? It's like, doon, 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 doon. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Doon, 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 doon. What does that sound? What is that song? Chariots of Fire. Oh, it is this. We're about to see the most amazing. We're about to see the most amazing mental gymnastics here. You're still optimistic?
Optimism that you expressed at the time, do you still feel that was well-founded?
absolutely. And part of the reason I wanted to come on is to see if you guys are on planet Earth or live in an alternate reality. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm being genuine about it. And Chris and I went back and watched our conversation from back then.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you kept saying like things against Trump. And that's why I didn't even think it was a debate. It was a discussion because I was like, yeah, I totally agree with you on Trump and the Republicans, et cetera. I was talking about the populist right and the independents that voted for Trump, the actual voters. And you saw it in that clip. I don't address Trump. I don't address any Republicans. I address the voters. So what has happened since then? Joe Rogan has come out against what Trump has done with Mahmoud Halil, with Abrego Garcia, almost all of the MAGA come out against. So what has happened since then? Joe Rogan has come out against what Trump has done with Mahmoud Halil, with Abrego Garcia. Almost all of the MAGA hosts have come out against the war, ranging from Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon. Then you've got the politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You've got Tim Dillon. I'm not sure you can name a right-wing MAGA host or independent host that's for the war in Iran. So I'm genuinely curious. Like, are you guys not seeing that, or does that somehow?
So we're plucking different policy positions out of the air and then applying them to different people. So he brings up like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Steve Bannon are against the war, but then right before that you were talking about Abrego Garcia. Do you think that Marjorie Taylor Greene and those guys don't support the Abrego Garcia? Like, this is like such an unbreakable position to have. Like, you can always find some host that might not be okay with something, but like, what's actually getting done in government? What's actually happening? I don't understand like Cenk said he felt optimistic. What did you feel optimistic then about? I'm sorry, I thought that the optimism was that Trump would actually do something. Now you're telling me the optimism was just that different conservative hosts would have different political positions that would never be effectuated in policy. Like, what? What the fuck are we even talking about now?
How magically not count?
So, Cenk, I have the same question as to whether or not you're on planet Earth. Because, first of all, let me ask you this question. Do you think that Trump 2.0 is better or worse than Trump 1?
I'm not here to talk about Trump or defend Trump or any of that. I just want to talk about what's on alternative media.
Why not?
Trump is irrelevant.
Let me grab I need a Storyline. If I'm going to swear out this hard, okay? I need a Storyline. Hold on.
No, he's not irrelevant because I'll tell you why. Here's why. You expressed optimism about how all this would go. And the reason you were optimistic.
Yeah, how all this would go. This meaning like the government not like random people on YouTube.
No, you're
hold on.
misunderstanding.
No, we just saw your tweet. Okay, the reason you were
I
optimistic
can explain the tweet.
is because you thought these various groups and influencers would hold him accountable. So did they constrain his behavior, for example, when Elon Musk was running around with a chainsaw, slashing Social Security and gutting the federal government and gutting the CFPB? No, we didn't. In fact, we saw Joe Rogan host Elon Musk, not to mention Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Andreessen, to make the case for those things, okay? No accountability there. Did we see them constrain his behavior and hold him accountable when he launched a crypto shitcoin, the most corrupt scheme in American history, most likely? No, he did it. He's faced no accountability for that. You mentioned some dissent from Rogan on the kidnapping of college students off of college campuses. Is it the right that organized in opposition to that? No, it's the left and it's liberals.
True.
The only time.
Oh, and liberals. Oh my God. Careful. Don't get baited. I know she's got dog shit opinions on everything else. Don't get baited. Don't get baited. Don't get baited.
That Trump's actions have been constrained at all in this Trump 2.0 era, which is vastly worse than I even expected when you and I had that conversation. I mean, we've got men in hundreds of people in a concentration camp. I didn't see any accountability from the right on that. I don't see any accountability from the right on an American city that is right now under invasion by our own troops, Marines on the ground in the city of LA. No, I don't see any accountability there. I see an administration that, as I predicted, the guardrails are completely off. And the only places where he has been constrained at all is when the left and liberals organized against Elon Musk, Tesla protests, showing up at town halls, etc., made him toxic. He had to be turfed out of the administration. And in the context of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, when you had mass left liberal resistance, even pushing Democratic leaders who were lame and weak to do something, Chris Van Hollen goes down to El Salvador, and the administration did something they did not want to do, which was to bring him back. That is the only time this administration has been constrained. It had nothing to do with the right, had everything to do with liberals and the left organizing against him.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you asked about 12 questions. I would love the time to answer it, but you didn't actually answer my question. Do you see a massive MAGA revolt against the war? And I'm being genuine. It's a literal question. Or do you just not see it?
A massive MAGA revolt. What does a revolt mean? That they tweet things?
Here's what I can tell you. Okay, Charlie Kirk, your buddy. He has already.
Not my buddy.
He has
Listen,
already gone. He has
That's a
already
ridiculous
gone.
thing to say.
He's
Go
already
ahead.
gone from.
He's so mad. I thought you wanted to be buddies with him, Cenk.
Your buddy. He has already.
Not my buddy.
He has
Listen,
already
don't say that.
gone. He has
That's a
already
ridiculous
gone.
thing to say.
He's
Go
already
ahead,
gone
finish.
from. He's already gone from being critical of the Iran war to guess what? He got a call from the White House. And now what he's saying? What's he saying? Oh, I trust Trump. Trump is the man for this moment. I know he's going to make the right decision.
The exact
Steve
quote
Bannon.
is.
Go
Can I
ahead.
give the exact quote?
Yeah.
This is from Charlie Kirk. Quote: "We must trust Trump in this situation." Go ahead with Steve Bannon.
So
Steve
you're not
Bannon,
seeing
hold
it.
on, Steve Bannon, put up element number 4. This is the Financial Times today. Steve Bannon says, if the president, as commander-in-chief, makes a decision to do this, the MAGA movement, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Gaetzes, we will fight it up till the end. But if he has more intelligence and makes that case to the American people, the MAGA movement will support President Trump.
There's always an out for these fucking losers. They always have a fucking out for why they can support the exact opposite of what they had said they'd support or wouldn't support earlier.
When Trump says that he gets to define what America first is, he's right about that.
Yep,
and so when you have
that's what it
Bannon,
is.
who also was critical of Elon Musk originally and got a call from the White House and said cut it out, and he bent the knee, these people time and time again, Cenk, all they do is ultimately when Trump makes a decision, they bend the knee. We are already far enough into this administration to know there has been no constraint on his action that has come from the right, none, and we're in a war with Iran. We are already in a war with Iran. They didn't constrain him here. He's doing whatever the hell he wants to do.
Okay, so you guys just spoke for like 8 minutes doing a straw man. Okay, so you make it sound, and this is what's so harmful. You guys make it sound like I'm pro-Trump, and I think that MAGA is just a bunch of angels who are secretly left-wing, and they're going to magically agree with us on every issue. And the minute that Trump does something wrong, they're going to all push back 100%. And that's what I believed. I believed in rainbows and unicorns. Of course not, Crystal. Of course not. Well, you're trying to move them. Moving the other side is super hard. And so when you see something,
If moving the other side is super hard, then why were you happy when the other side won the fucking election? I feel like this is one of my biggest like pieces of advice for toxic relationships. Is I always tell people, like, if you feel like you're spending an inordinate amount of time in a relationship fighting for neutrality, you're fighting to make things not horrible, you'd probably be better off in a relationship where you can invest energy into making things like really fun or really good. Like, if you're going through all this work just to make something not suck, there's probably not a great arrangement. This idea of like, you know, well, maybe we fight really hard. Maybe possibly some percentage of the supporters at some point might actually get a little bit closer to our position. Wouldn't it be so much easier if you just started with a left-leaning candidate? Even if you didn't like them perfectly? Like, wouldn't it be easier to convince a Kamala Harris voter of your things that you're trying to advocate here than a fucking Trump voter? Like, I can understand if Cenk's position was, okay, fine, we need to do with the best with what we have, but that wasn't his position. His position was that he was optimistic that Trump won the election. Like, what the fuck?
Well, you're trying to move them. Moving the other side is super hard. And so when you see something, anything where they actually agree with us, you have to encourage that. So when you say all the things that you said, is Trump a bad guy? Of course, of course. So if you're listening out here, guys, the framing of all of this is totally wrong. Like, we're having a conversation. Do you think Trump's a bad? Of course I think Trump's a bad guy. He's totally authoritarian. That's why I voted against him. That's why I worked so hard against him. So even the framing makes me like sound different. That's why I voted against him. That's why I worked so hard against him. So even the framing makes...
Notice I said, wait, who did Cenk ever say who he voted for? Because him saying voted against him here almost makes it sound like he voted third party, but there's no way, right? Cenk must have voted for Kamala, right? I wonder if they'll ask or for clarity.
Makes me like sound defensive when you guys started with a premise that's out in la la land. We totally oppose Trump. So now the second part of the premise that's totally wrong is, do I think that MAGA is going to revolt on every issue against Trump from day one? Why? Why would they? They love Trump. Of course not. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for, is there one or two issues where there is actual agreement? And can we take that agreement and do something in...
Okay. He did say here, you and I voted for Kamala Harris.
Interesting to restrain Trump in those issues. So when you talk about immigration...
So when has that worked?
Okay, hold on. Well, we're in the middle of it right now. So I'll tell
We're
you...
at war with Iran, Cenk. Hate to break it to you. We're at war with Iran. It didn't work.
Okay. So Crystal, let me finish. So when you talk about immigration and all the things that he's terrible on, I know what MAGA's movable on or not. I talk about it on the Young Turks all the time. If you think you're going to move them on immigration, you are nuts. They're not going to move an inch on immigration. So
please ask him, what are you going to move them on? You're going to move them on trans issues? Are you going to move them on... What are you moving them on?
I fight him tooth and nail on that dungeon in El Salvador that they're sending people to, the Marines in the streets. Now, there's some issues like immigration where they haven't moved an inch and they never will move an inch, right? Mm-hmm. There's some issues like the Marines in the streets where a smattering of them are like, this is a little uncomfortable. It feels a little unconstitutional. It doesn't feel quite right. Those libertarian wing. Remember, guys, this is super important. There's 77 million people that voted for Trump, right? If you treat them all the same, you will not be able to win elections. Why is winning elections important? Because that is how you take power away from Trump, away from the Republicans. So if you treat all 77 million as hardcore MAGA, you're going to push them away and they're going to vote against you. You can say, oh, no, but it makes me feel better. I have emotional release and my audience likes me more because I seem like I'm tougher on Trump. I was so mean to him. Yeah, but did that persuade anybody? I called all of his voters fascists. Yes, but did that persuade anyone? You're trying to persuade the people in the middle to come to your side. So what are the issues where we've got a fighter's chance? War. Okay, so now, do I think that on day one, they were all going to flip and then act and be successful in stopping all of the establishment, all the neocons? And by the way, were we successful? We were not successful in stopping any of them during Biden or any other Democratic administration either, right?
That's a lie. We did leave Afghanistan. Regardless of how bad the pullout was, we left Afghanistan. We did, 100%. We also stopped participating in the drone strikes and everything for Yemen under the Saudi infinite war against Yemen. We stopped that as well. I feel like there were less. I feel like did Biden attack Syria at all? We never did under Biden, right? There were no attacks on Syria under Trump. There were. There was at least one airport that we bombed. Okay.
So now there's a giant full-blown revolt from MAGA against this war. Now, if you're saying no, I don't see Tucker Carlson, Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Posobiec, Cernovich, Candace Owens, etc., all of them opposed to the war. But you might not, because a lot of people watch programming that honestly just kind of gives them a misleading sense of what's happening.
Did you see Tucker, Trump saying, Tucker called me to apologize. He said he went too far. Did you see Steve Bannon saying, we're all going to fall in line ultimately? So I'm not talking about, hold on. Yeah. I'm not talking about the however many million Americans voted for Trump, some of whom are hardcore MAGA, and you will never move them. And I guarantee you, the moment that Trump says, this is the policy, they're going to say, you're right, sir, this is the policy, this is brilliant, and I am on board. Are there independents that can be moved? Yes, there are two separate questions here, okay? Number one is we are in hell right now. Like, the level of damage that has been done to this country, done to the world from Trump 2.0 already is astounding. So the number one thing is triage. Right? How do we stop? How do we stop as much damage as we can? And the track record thus far in the Trump administration is the only time he has been constrained is through the left and liberals banding together and going through the court system and public pressure. That's it. That's all we've seen in this administration. The other question is how do you win elections? So go ahead and address that, and we can talk about the election piece. But real quick, before you get in, as to the earnestness of this MAGA anti-war movement, put element number 3 up on the screen. Do you know? Tell me how many Republicans have signed on to the War Powers Resolution? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene? No. Is Lauren Boebert there? No. One. Thomas Massey, a libertarian who is, ideologically consistent, kind of similar ideologically to Dave Smith. Every other person here is a Democrat. So
Yeah,
to
I
the
know that.
earnestness of this anti-war MAGA coalition and their commitment
you keep
to blocking war with
conflating, Kristen.
Iran,
You drive me crazy.
here's where the rubber meets the road. You have
Yeah,
one
yeah.
Republican who is already at odds with Trump, who is willing to put his name on this war powers resolution. That's it.
So, Crystal, look, I know you don't mean it, but you keep conflating two things. The Republican
not a Trump
politicians,
supporter.
including Trump, and the Republican voters, or the people who voted
Wow.
for Trump, okay? So are the Republican politicians corrupt? Of course they're
Of course, they're corrupt. It's always corruption. He does not have the cognitive tools. He does not have the toolkit needed to do modern political analysis. He can't understand anything. He's about to blame the donor class again, the corporate donors. That's the only lens through which he can view all the politics in the United States.
corrupt. Are they going to say, hey, Israel, I'll be your bitch, and I'll do whatever the hell you want me to do? Of course they are. They're completely owned by Israel, okay?
Oh, sorry,
So
not the
AIPAC,
donor class. Israel here. My bad. APAC donor class, same thing.
et cetera, the warmongers, by the way, let's be honest, is more than half the Democratic Party totally owned by AIPAC. Yes, right? So I oh my God, oh no, you can't be honest. You have to just say the other side is terrible and our side is angels. No, I'm not
But
going to play
Cenk,
that.
would you
That's
rather?
nonsense.
But would you rather be on the side of the 37 who signed on to the war powers?
It's such an he's not going to answer that. He won't answer it. He won't answer it. He won't answer it. He won't answer it. He's not going to answer that question. She should repeat it. He's going to pivot and say some retarded shit, and then she should repeat it over and over and over again. But she's not going to repeat it. He's not going to answer. She's not going to repeat it.
Resolution
But
or
Crystal,
the
I am
one.
on the side of the 37. Everything
you?
frame-
Oh, never mind. Okay, he answered it. I am on the side of the 37. But then why did he just say, I'm not going to pretend like one side is angels and one side is demons? It's clearly there's a difference in the support, no? How does he reconcile these positions?
is a straw man. I am on the side of the 37. In fact, Ro Khanna is my top ally. Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna and I had the same exact strategy that you criticized in November when we
That's
talked.
not true.
You literally put me, and Kyle did the same thing. You guys put me in the same bucket as Bernie and Ro, reaching out to see if we can find agreement on
But
the
what
right.
else,
You're right,
but what
we are
else
in
has
the same
Bernie
bucket.
done? What else has Bernie done that has been profoundly impactful? The anti-oligarch, the Fight Oligarchy Tour, which was an
That's what
effort to
I do for
bind
a
together
living.
the left and the liberals to protest and to resist this administration. And that has been profoundly more
Listen, you're
impactful.
having a conversation
Cenk,
with a person who isn't here.
did the Pentagon budget get cut? Just tell me that. What's the Pentagon budget? Did it get cut?
You've now asked me 28
Did
questions.
Don
Let me answer
Jr.
that.
Did he do whatever
Okay.
with the generals? Did that work out?
All right, guys, look, I came on here because, look, you're generally fair. So you asked me 28 questions, and then let me answer them. So, and stop framing it as if I'm a different person. You keep making all these assumptions about who I'm. Oh, are you on the Republican side or the
I'm
Democratic?
literally
No, I'm always on
saying
the
things
Democratic
that
side.
you said, Cenk. Like I played your clip
Oh,
of what you
Jesus
said.
Christ, man.
Turn to the camera.
Okay,
Hey,
I'm
tell me if
right
I'm
here,
wrong.
Crystal.
This
Crystal,
specifically,
I'm right here. I'm
Cenk,
right here. Can I talk for myself instead of you?
You
like,
specifically held on the Pentagon
at this
budget.
Point, at this point, borderline lying about me in every framing of every question. Can I
How am I
actually,
lying?
a human being named
How am I
Cenk,
lying? Tell
actually
me how I'm
answer your
lying.
questions instead of you
Tell me
framing
how I'm lying,
me as a
Cenk.
person that doesn't exist?
Cenk,
Okay.
I played the clip of you talking, so tell me how I'm lying.
Okay. All right. So now, of all your questions, you have this fantasy land that Trump was like, oh, the left thinks Abrego Garcia's, I've treated him wrong. I surrender, left. Are you, come on, what planet do you live on? No, the courts are not left or right. The courts have held. I'm thrilled that the courts have held. And it was so important for the courts to hold. So if they didn't hold on that, he was going to have unlimited authoritarian power. And we are against that, no matter how many times people try to pretend that we're on the side of Trump. Listen to what I am actually saying. And you will see this every day on the Young Turks. I am against Trump. Totally. Okay. Now, okay. Yes, but why do you love Trump will be the next question. Okay.
Did I ask that? Cenk, talk about this Trump, man. I mean, you're making up stuff I never said. Come on.
Oh my God. The thing that I hate the most, it's annoying, especially for me, because I'm like writing down points, and if I don't get a chance to respond to everything, it triggers the fuck out of me. I hate it when people claim that they don't have time to respond to things, and then as soon as they begin their response, it's like on some irrelevant yap bullshit, right? Like, you said all dogs have one leg. You said that dogs eat clouds, and then you said that dogs all come from the moon. And then you also, wait, let me respond. Jesus, let me respond. Okay, fine, go ahead. Start responding. Okay, I have a dog and his name is Spot, and he's the friendliest motherfucking dog I've ever had in my entire life. And also, my family used to have cats, and I think that Nickelodeon was the coolest cartoon channel ever. I actually like Nickelodeon. And it's like, hold on, you just complained so much about not having the opportunity or the time to respond to anything. And then as soon as you finally are like, stop, let me talk, then you start yapping. The fuck? Is it a failure in communication, or is it an intentional misdirect? Or, like, respond, run down the list of points, and why bring up a totally other different thing and then straw man a totally different question that she didn't even fucking ask you? You know, like.
If I can't answer your
Jake,
question,
I'm giving you plenty of time to answer, brother. You're making up stuff about me.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
So you want to
Jesus
talk about
Christ,
straw men?
Crystal.
You're
This is
inventing
it's a
things on the
mistake
spot.
talking to you guys. It's a mistake. So okay, now when you're talking about the Pentagon cuts.
There we
Do
go.
you think that I thought, oh my God, Elon's such a good guy, and Trump's such a good guy, even though I've spoken out against them at every single turn.
Like, no one is saying this. This is some brain broken. This is just brain broken shit. People are incapable of restating the opposition's argument. Nobody is saying that you thought that Trump and Elon were such good guys. What people are criticizing you for is you seem to be a little bit delusional in assuming that it was possible through MAGA, you thought there was some weird allegiance there to these principles of not funding the military, or you thought that somehow you would get them all to not increase the Pentagon budget, when everybody knew that that was never going to be the case. Everybody was saying, me included, everybody was saying this from day negative 100 since he won the election, forget taking office. But for some reason, you remained optimistic, and you said, and that's why Crystal brought you on the show initially. Need we remind you, right? The initial tweet was, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now